What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Got a good one for you. We're going to be looking at the Kunwu S Tao. Let's get into it. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the S Tao. We're going to do some size comparisons, profile comparison. We'll check the weight, and then we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions. I'm going to keep it relatively short on the comparisons today because we're also going to be doing the disassembly and maintenance on this one because I'd like to swap out some hardware that came with it that was colored. I like that. And I also want to go ahead and just clean it and lube it myself and maybe slightly adjust the lock bar. I think I'd like a little bit more detent on there. Well, we'll kick it off with the size comparisons. Here it is against the Spyderco Para 3 and the Spyderco Shaman. So you can see this is definitely a full-size knife, very comparable to the Shaman and larger than the Para 3. So I would constitute that as full size. And for the comparison, let's go ahead and take a look at it against the Shaman. Both are flat scales. I haven't looked at this yet, but they look pretty comparable to me. I would say they're definitely pretty comparable. And it feels about like a 4-ounce knife. I could give or take. Let's see what it actually weighs in at. Coming in at 4.3 ounces. So right there, I have no issues with the weight, the size, everything like that. Let's go ahead and jump into my thoughts and impressions, and then we'll wrap it up with the disassembly in case you're interested in that. So the Kunwu Tao is not a new model, and I actually had the drop point variant, and I very much enjoyed it. With the channel, as you know, I am a small channel, so I move inventory around to try to free up funds to continue to be able to experience new knives and share my thoughts and impressions with you on the channel. I really liked this one a lot, and I kind of regretted letting it go. And the S Tao with that sheep's foot blade is right up my alley. I do a lot of utility cutting, power cutting, breaking down boxes, things like that. So for me, this blade shape is ideal. I really do like Vanex Super Clean, highly stain resistant, tough steel, great edge retention, and Kunwu is doing a heat treat at 60 to 62, which is right where they indicate is the optimal heat treat for Vanex. So you're getting a really good heat treat on Vanex, which is a very unique steel and something that if you live in a climate where you worry about staining, this should really take care of that for you. You shouldn't have to worry about any stain or corrosion. Now, the handle shape, very similar to what I remember on the Kunwu Tao, very ergonomically friendly, good 4-finger grip for me. I am a little close to the edge of the blade, but with power cutting and push away cutting, I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to be doing any puncture cutting with that one. So if you needed to, if you liked the drop point better and you wanted to pick up the Tao, you do have like 3 3/4 grip here. So if you needed to puncture and then you wanted to choke up, you could to move in there. Again, I have very large hands, so medium to large is going to be just fine on here. One of the revisions that I liked on here that I remember from my Tao and my compact were that they had that wire pocket clip. They do include that hardware in the purchase of this knife in case you want the wire clip on here, but they've upgraded it to a titanium pocket clip, which I much prefer aesthetically. It is nice and springy, goes in and out of the pocket perfectly. I love the fact that they upgraded this. I think it was a really smart move. You still have that orange peel ply texturing on here that looks really nice and offers some grip. You still have the micro milling here on the bottom side of the scale for you to grip onto when you wrap your fingers around it. You have good access to the lock bar. They chamfered and opened it. They don't cut the relief cut back, so you are kind of digging in there to get into it, but the tension on the lock bar is very appropriate. I can get in there just fine, no issues. I can lift up on it fine, no issues whatsoever, and then of course sliding across. And I would actually probably say that to slide across to disengage it is my least favorite of the 3, but it's still good. It's not like it's bad at all. The opening hole took a moment to get used to. It is very high. I think they probably could have come down with it a little bit more so you could get more finger in there, at least for me, get a little bit more in there for that thumb flick. I feel like I want to slide off, so what I end up doing is kind of kicking it out and up Oops, as I slip off. And that usually works for me just fine. The reverse flick, a little high. I think if they could have brought it down just a little bit more, that opening hole would have been a little bit better for me so I can keep my hand down low on there for the reverse flick deployment. Front flipper works good, no issues. I would just stress to bring the jimping all the way up to the top, even if you don't go around. I think that would be really nice because you kind of land on that flat spot there and only catch like 1 or 2 jumps. I imagine if you have smaller hands, smaller fingers, it'd be even less than that. So I would just recommend to them to take the jimping all the way out there, but it doesn't really affect the operation of the front flipper for me. And the back flipper, nice low profile, nice jimping. I think they carried it as far as they could go, and it seems to work just fine. I have had no issues with it on either model as far as that flipper goes. Works really good. Detent is okay. It's not super strong, but it's far from weak. It does hold it in place well enough to deploy the knife, even when I try to go very light on the opening, because the bearings are so smooth, the weight and the momentum carry it all the way open. The reverse flick, I'm just so used to kind of pushing through that. It works. I have no issues whatsoever. Now this one here, if I recall correctly, because I haven't actually opened this one, multi-row bearings on nylon washer, so it's very smooth. Every Kunwu that I've come across that's the larger size has that setup, and it makes for a very smooth operation. Opening and closing feels very glassy, just really smooth on the action. Came with a great factory edge. I did break down a box, and I have some paper here, and I mean, I think it was just an Amazon box. I don't think it was anything spectacular. And man, what a fantastic edge. Just wow. They do a really good job over there. They listen to the community, the feedback on what the community wants. They want a good heat treat. They want a good factory edge, so they don't have to sharpen it. Not everybody is into sharpening that buys these knives, and it's easy to strop and kind of maintain these. So I'm so glad that they continue to do that on these models. Now, one thing that is interesting, at the time of recording this, I have the website up behind the camera there, and they actually have a version 2 of the S Tao that has that diamond texturing that you see on the Padre, the Pulsar, the Dango. Those all have that diamond texturing, and they've now put that on the S Tao. So I'm sorry, the Tao. I wonder if they're going to do that upgrade to the S Tao, because I love that finish. Not that I have anything against this. This is a fantastic finish. It's a really good knife. It's $279. You're getting titanium, zircotite collar, Vanex super clean. Now you're getting a titanium pocket clip with the option for additional hardware and that wire pocket clip that comes in the case, which I'm going to go ahead and break that out because we're almost getting ready to disassemble so I can install these. And you get a little tool with it. I really just love what they're doing over there. I would probably say throw some extra hardware in there, just like one set of extra hardware at that price point. I think that would be a bonus. I'd love to see that. They provide nice casing, a sleeve if you want to store it. So you got all that going on with the Kunwu S Tao. Again, if you don't like this one, the drop point variant is very nice. The price is really good on it from what you're getting. You're getting very interesting steels. It's not always just M390 like you see on a lot of premium knives. Like you just throw a rock in any direction and it's M390, 20CV, and here lately Magna Cut. So fun to see S90V and Vanex super clean and stuff like that getting thrown on these bad boys. I love it. Continue to do that. I'm going to flip this so that you guys can see it, and I'll keep the hardware towards me. So keep that up. I did test this because I wanted to try to adjust the action a little bit, and all of it is T8. So you only need 1 bit in hardware to get this disassembled, which I really love that. Let's go ahead and break into this. You should not need to remove the pocket clip to disassemble this. It's just 3 bolts, super straightforward, super easy. So we'll go ahead and start with removing the back. Again, I did try to adjust the centering because it does slightly, ever so slightly, just a touch favors the show side, but it's nothing horrendous or awful. I do want to change these out, clean, lube it, put it all back together, and just see if maybe by the disassembly process, if I can get this centered up. But if it doesn't, it's just such a minor amount that's off. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, it's really, really minor. What are we getting hung up on here? There we go. So it was looked like it was hung up on the standoff. So there's that beautiful multi-row bearings that I mentioned that they provide for their knives. It makes for superb action. A lot of bearings contacting on the washer on the blade, so it has super smooth action. Since we're going to clean it, I'm going to go ahead and just move everything out of the way. Let me try that. There we go. A little bit of force, but she came loose. Now the D-shaped pivot on here faces the rear, and it did shift around a little bit, so just keep that in mind as you're working on these. We're going to go ahead and get the blue stand off since they come with the knife, and we're just going to swap those out really quick. We'll proceed with the cleaning and reassemble it, and we'll see if it centers up. We'll check the action. Oh yeah, and I do want to tune the detent ever so slightly. We'll leave that unpacked because I do want to put these back in the package when I'm done. I really love that they provide that collar. I don't know if it would work, but I would love to see that collar. And I'm trying to see if these are D-shaped or not. Sorry. Oh, it might be easier to tell on the blue. No, they don't appear. No, they're not D-shaped. The collar on both sides, I think, would be just, fantastic. Now, these are steel hardware as far as the bolts. No issues there. Again, you're getting a lot for your money, and that's a great way just to make sure that nothing really strips. This thing keeps trying to slide out. Let me adjust. Well, I'm going to clean that anyway. Yeah, I'm going to clean that, so I'm just going to take that out. I don't know what I was thinking. So we got this beautiful blue here, just a little pop of color. If you like the monochromatic, you don't have to switch it. I love that they give you the option for both. They got this, again, these are anodized. I think it kind of pulls in the zirconia pivot collar a little bit. So I am all about it and happy to switch it out. And that screw just wants to slide off there. It's kind of like a medium depth on the hardware. It's not the best I've ever seen, but it's far from the worst either. So let's go ahead, while we have everything disassembled, just going to clean all of the factory lube off of here. Yeah, super easy to get to. Doesn't look like too much of a worn-in track. So that makes me feel like the washers probably have a good hardness to them, and I don't have to worry about those going soft and wearing in too quickly. And then on the blade, same thing on the blade. You see a small track on the blade, nothing too heavy, too hard. And I've probably had this knife maybe like 2 weeks now. I feel like I had it 2 weeks because I was going to show it off on last week's live. I wasn't feeling well, and I threw my back out Saturday, so I'm wearing a compression shirt today. So I just want to do it slightly. It looks like it's not quite clearing the frame, so I don't want it to go past the frame. And I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I went too far past. Yeah, I went too far past. So we will need the T6 because I pushed it a little further than I intended, which actually it may be easier to work it back exactly where I want it versus trying to push it and get it where I want it, because sometimes it's a little hard to judge. So we'll take the over travel stop here and lock bar insert out. Let's go ahead and try to work it back now. As you can see, I created a gap between the frame and the lock bar, and I don't want that gap there. So we're just going to work it back ever so slightly. And now it's like almost, yeah, I think it's right where I want it. So there's no more gap. And it's right on top of the frame where the lock bar slides. So they're kind of even now. So I'm going to leave it like that. Gonna reinstall the lock bar insert so that way you all got like just a quick peek at how I do like the adjustments. I do small adjustments, and then if it's not right, I will have to disassemble and take it apart again. Why does it feel like it's not catching? Oof. There we go. Because you'll have to push it back towards the pocket clip to get it right where you want it. So I think we're right there. Actually, yeah, now we're right there. We're right on the edge where there's almost a gap. Okay, we've done that tuning. Let's go ahead and finish cleaning up the pivot. The only thing that I've noticed with Kunwu's is they use like a very like a silicone type lubricant, and I just prefer the liquid lubricant on there. I feel like it's going to be less prone to get gummed up, and you can see how clean it comes versus what it looked like with their lube on there. So I was able to get some dirt and grit off there. It's nice and clean now. Hopefully that comes through pretty good in the video there, so you can see why it may be worthwhile just to take the factory lube off, clean these up, and get them ready to go. Your choice, dealer's choice of what lubricant you prefer to use. I just use Hops gun oil. I trust it on my firearms, so I definitely would trust that with my knives. I take it out of the main unit and put it in this applicator so that I can store this on the table with my other tools, as opposed to trying to keep a big applicator over here on the table and pulling it out every time that I need it. Plus, I keep it with all of my other hardware cleaning stuff, supplies and stuff that I have for my firearms. So I have that stored like in a bag. All right, so we got those lubed up. They feel pretty good. That came right off, I guess, because there's no more grease holding it in place. And I'm just checking to make sure that that D-shaped pivot is in the back. So we'll just drop a little lube there right on the pivot. I'm going to hold it in place while I set it back down and try to make sure that that's facing rearward. We're going to go ahead. Oh, I did skip a step. Since I am cleaning and taking everything apart, I'm going to clean the detent ball hole out as well. And I have these, basically these are like keyboard electrical cleaning app Q-tip thingies, and they work really well for this. You can see we got plenty of dirt on the first attempt there. I might actually get a second one and just do a second swab. And I do that because it actually, I have found, as that gets dirty and gums up, your detent ball is sitting on top of that. Even if it's a microscopic amount, it's not fully seating in there. So this is a great way to make sure that the detent also feels snappy. So the two of these, tuning it and, yeah, that's completely clean. Tuning it and doing this as well is a great way to kind of make sure that your detent feels really nice when you put everything back together. All right, so I feel like we are facing rearward. Let's go ahead and throw the last bearing on. I'm just gonna dab a little drop right here. I think I need a higher angle. Come on. There we go. Just a little bit, nothing much, just something for it to ride on as I drop my bearing back down on the mat. And that's just a little lube for the detent ball to ride on, nothing major. Yep, that should be good. Throw the bearing back on. Cleaning the lube off my fingers so I can get this reinstalled. I'm hoping that after doing all of this, I will be able to, oh, I think my D-shaped pivot is facing too high. I think, let's see there. Let me see. That looks good. Let's, there we go. Everything's falling back into place now. So while I have it up, I'm just going to go ahead and get the pivot bolt started. back in. Take it down pretty firmly, and then open it up, and I'll reinstall these 2 bolts here. And then we'll check for centering and hope for the best. Hopefully this all, taking it completely apart like this and looking at everything, cleaning it, messing with it, just kind of helps it center back up. Sometimes it's just something that's a little off, a grind or something like that could be a little off, making everything appear like it's, not quite centered. So I could definitely tell there's more tension. It didn't want to fall shut as easily. It does still slightly favor, slightly favor the pocket clip side. You can see just a little bit more gap on the show side than you do on the other side. Like, it's just a little bit of tension corrects it. So just a little off, and again, it could be any number of things. Detent feels good. Might be a little too tight. Hold on, let me check no side to side. It might just be, whoops, as I lose both the screws or the barrels, because the magnet on there picked up the bit. Let's just kick it back just a little. Yeah, that feels much better. I tend to want these to be super tight. Yeah, that feels good. No movement here, it's still in the exact same spot. Yeah, the detent a little bit more dialed. Yeah, right where I would like it. It's not obnoxious, but it feels just a little bit more crispy now. And again, it could be the combination of cleaning out the detent hole and cleaning the adjusting. Those both could be, a factor here as to why it feels better now. It feels just that little adjustment made a huge difference for me. Yeah, there's definitely more to overcome. Yep, definitely more to overcome. And actually, I keep putting my finger on that lock bar, so I'm wondering if that's actually just a reverse flick hole. It's probably not, a thumb hole with that frame lock. I like it. I'm very happy. I'll get it as close as I can so you can kind of see there's more gap on this side than there is on the pocket clip side. So for whatever reason, it just tends to slightly favor that side. So I'm not going to probably be able to get that centered. Oh, we almost forgot the blue. I like it. It looks good, kind of drawing out a little bit of the blues in the zirconium, if there are any. Hopefully there are. Hopefully this helped you. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, consider sharing. Check out another video. That's a great way to help the channel. If you like one after you watched it and you watch another one that you haven't watched yet, that's a great way to help the channel. Shout out to everyone out there that leaves the likes, watches the videos, comments, and is subscribed. I appreciate the support. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.